right, so welcome to DnDeBrief. I am DM Samuel, your humble dungeon master. I don't know, am I humble? I guess I'm humble. I'm a little bit humble. I'm not perfect. That's a little bit humble, right? Okay, I am your dungeon master tonight, and I'm here with my 100% awesome players, and they can introduce themselves. We'll start with Karu tonight.
Hello, I am Hikaru. I am playing Marcel, the Lutrinian sorcerer, storm sorcerer.
And Nina.
Hello, I'm Nina, and I'm playing Emlyn Ornestra, who is a human stormcloud.
And David.
And I play Axley Tillinquest, Halfling Bard.
And last but not least, Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm playing Khonnos, the Sea Elf Warlock.
Awesome. Who remembers what happened? And do you need me to recap, or do you have notes that you want to mention certain elements of the session?
I have no notes.
I've got some things. So, essentially, as a group, we kind of made the decision that the Blue Plateau was the next place we needed to kind of venture to as far as stopping / reversing the effects of the sinking. We learned that Kromov, the minister that we were thinking was behind or at least tied up with the killing of Sabatine, I think, split town. He and his family kind of just vanished. We weren't able to track him down. We decided to take the Book of Proofs back, and we put that back in the library, I think. We learned there's a naval blockade being put together, and we got the Hoka tied up with that. We learned that Sabatine had actually been brought back to life thanks to a benefactor she has. Let's see, Emmerin healed Lucanius and a bunch of other people. And mostly everything went right with that.
Mostly, yeah. There were a few people that didn't survive the radiant explosion. And someone took a little bit of damage, right?
Yes, someone did. Someone also finally got the mail delivered.
That's true.
That was the true goal of the game, right? We've finished the campaign there.
Yeah, you finished it. We're done. We're just gonna start something new now.
Oh, cool. Identified a bunch of magic items that we've had for a while and kind of figured out more about what they did. Let's see. Met with Gaston again, who I guess is more coming back to himself, and now all of his skeleton audience is kind of reviving as well. And then we ended by going to the Spire room in the big library, and we saw basically a representation of something that Emmerin saw in one of her dreams. Basically the whole, how do I put this? So basically like a pillar of light where it's light coming, and then it basically changes colors through several layers and whatnot. And we're realizing like it's the Soul Spire itself, but it's corrupted, is the short version of that.
Was there anything that you left out?
Did you mention that Sabatine was not dead?
I did mention that, yeah. She'd been brought back to life thanks to her benefactor. She was basically leading the Calport's navy, getting them ready to go as far as like putting a defense force in place if and when Laralak's undead army showed up from out of the sea.
We verified that Emmerin's powers are definitely enhanced, or, like, I don't know, deity enhanced.
Something like that. Did we talk to the queens last time, or was that the time before?
I think we talked with them a little bit. Oh yeah, they were like locked in like their safe room basically. I think we talked with them a little bit.
Because did they give us the brooch?
Yeah, she gave it. Yeah, she gave you one.
That's what I thought. Couldn't remember. I have brooch down.
You talked to the queens, and they gave you the one. Queen Delencia herself gave you the brooch off of her cloak. It's an amethyst, and it's been passed down from generation to generation. She also told you the 3 4-part numbers: 3579 9753 6174.
Which she has like tattooed on her arm too, I think.
And she made some comment about how she was wondering when the history was going to come back around, and she told you that for generations the oldest daughter of her family line have been naming the oldest daughter Delencia because they knew that eventually it would come back around.
Kind of confirming what we thought about this cyclical nature of events that we had uncovered.
Yeah, and she mentioned, because Imran said, oh, it's amethyst or something, she said amethysts have a special ability to hold and to help bind different types of energies. That's why it was used. She also mentioned that that's what was used in the telescope that was being used to project the ward that they had that was broken. The other note that I have down is, so Imran healed Lucanius, and Khonnos told the Haka to help the navy that's being built. So 400 Haka swarmed the docks and went on the vessels and helped out. You had the mail delivered. You saw Gaston, and he was fully formed human in a Ben Franklin suit with little round glasses. And he has all the skeletons in there, and they were all within, in some various stage of reinvestiture, of regrowing all of their fleshy parts. And he gave Imran her cloak back, and then you all went to the spire room, and you haven't actually put the book on the pedestal yet. That was the reason why you went to the room. And when you went into the room, the last thing that happened in the session was I described what you were seeing in the Soul Spire model, quote-unquote model. Which then begs the question, what do you want to do now?
Well, I assume we want to follow through on putting the book back. That's why we're here.
Yeah. I'm sure no one will notice the change in the book's cover.
Maybe it'll go back to normal once we put it back.
Was there a stand or something where the book is supposed to go?
Yeah, there's a small pedestal, just exactly like what Imran remembers in her dream. It's kind of off to the side.
Who was carrying the book?
Have we closed it, or is it still open?
I think it's wrapped in somebody's cloak.
Yeah, I think it's wrapped in Axley's cloak.
What was the last thing we wrote in it?
It was about Lucanius.
So we already deciphered that, so it's probably closed and just wrapped in Axley's cloak, because we still don't like touching human skin for some reason. Can't imagine why.
For some odd reason.
I think the last thing I remember going in there was, the whole, it's basically what we used to determine the two methods to reverse the sinking.
Yeah, and then after that, I think I put in there's a way to heal Lucanius without killing him.
Yeah, and I told her to cast Revivify.
Yeah, that was definitely the last thing.
Yeah.
Who did we have write that down? Because we wanted to see what name showed up. I can't remember. I don't have that in my notes. That wasn't last session, though.
No, it was not. What do you want to know? You want to know
the name of whoever wrote it. Oh, Emran wrote down, there's a way to remove the affliction plaguing Lucanius that leaves him alive and healthy. This is a true statement with 6-page proof. It is revealed that part of this resolution involves casting Revivify, a necromancy spell that Rayla is opposed to using in the name of Goras. It doesn't say what the recorded name was, though.
I think you must not have looked. Or it was Imran that wrote it.
Well, that's as easy to remedy as just opening the book and looking, right? Because it's still in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I opened the campaign notes you sent. Because so far Marcel wrote his name, we had Blacksley write his name, and it came up as Cornelius Adram. We had Khonnos, who was recorded as Bolam, and Marcel was recorded as Fleurmont Menir Lafiere, which was the last known royal heir. But Emerins does not say.
Yeah, okay, I'll put the book back on the pedestal open to that last page that was written in.
Can I be like, I just want to be keeping an eye on like this whole projection image we're seeing as he puts it back, just to see if there's any change in it when it's replaced.
So it's not a projection image, right? It's like the real thing, but a miniature version of it. It has substance and odors and audio, and it's not a projection like how you've been using the lenses to project the different visions of the other areas. It's not like that. It's actually a sort of miniature version of
what the Soul Spire actually looks like.
Right. At least that's what you're assuming. So Axley is going to take and open the book to the page that has the signatures.
Yeah.
See what name was on there. Let me see if I wrote it in my notes.
And place it on the... Yeah. Do we want to try to interact with that Soul Spire somehow? I mean, we haven't like touched it or interacted with it in any way, just looked at it.
Yeah, I think we've just stared at it for a bit. Probably a bit wary.
Why is it here? That's some pretty powerful magic to be able to essentially have a continual scry on multi-planes. And why here at this location?
Well, this is called the Spire Room.
I guess we now know why it's called the Spire Room. It's because it has a depiction of the spire.
Okay, so how are you putting the book back? Are you like you're holding it in your hand, obviously, like so far nobody has ever touched the book. You've always had something in between, like a cloak or something? Or you used mage hand?
I have to open it, so I'll use both hands. One hand will be on each side of it, holding it open.
Or mage hand.
Okay, well, I guess I could just set the cloak on the ground, and we could use mage hand again to lift it up and put it on the pedestal.
Right, yeah, I'll cast mage hand, just lift it up. Do we want to open it before we put it on, or put it on then open it?
I don't know if it matters too much, but might just open it first and then place it. That way we're not doing a whole lot once it's placed.
Okay, I'll have mage hand. Actually, no, I'll use unseen servant for this one because something new. So yeah, we'll use unseen servant. We'll just pick it up, open it to the last page that we're writing in, hold it up so we can see it for a few moments, and then once we're satisfied, it'll put it back on.
So the unseen servant, you want it to... let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Axley is taking the book...
Yeah, something's going to happen.
...in a cloak and setting it on the ground, not opened.
We don't just put the book back and it's done and we go away.
And then the unseen servant that's being conjured by Khonnos is going to pick the book up, open it, and put it back on the pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the list of names that are the last names. I take that back. You don't see the list of names because what you see is only the name of the last person who wrote a question in the book, right? And so what you see as the inscription is Imran Ornestia, favored daughter of Goros, and then below that it says chosen of, but then it's blank. It doesn't have a deity listed.
So you think that has anything to do with your, souped up powers, Imran?
I don't like the fact that it's incomplete. It makes me feel like things can go one way or another way, and one way is good and one way is not.
I don't know why you would feel that way.
Emran, do you have any thoughts about who that could be?
I mean, if it's not Goras, I don't know who... I've never had any interaction with Straven. Not really.
Besides asking for a divine intervention and a wave helping you.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. That would probably be the better
so
option, to be fair.
It's gonna be... It's... Shamasa Hasid. Because I feel like we can end up destroying everything if we're not really careful.
The only other god we've, interacted with in any capacity is the Raven Queen, but the Raven Queen seems more interested in Khonnos. Or at least the Raven does. The Raven that is probably watching us because the Raven Queen asked them to. If it's not just, one of her aspects. Khonnos, where did your familiar go anyway?
He's still here.
Okay, because I think the last time you had sent your familiar to watch over the perimeter of the castle.
Yeah. Yeah, he was keeping an eye out for anybody trying to get in or leave, basically.
I'm just trying to imagine this huge pelican with a huge raven on its back following us around and just waddling behind us, because I don't think they can fly in here. The corridors aren't that big.
They find a way.
I'll stick socks on top and we can have a little totem pole.
or in the bill or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Carrying him around that way.
You can ride around.
Right, well, if we're satisfied, if we've got what we need, we might as well put this back.
Yeah, so let's put this back. Let's get back to our ship, which I think we already had people prepping the Curiosity for its interdimensional voyage.
Yep. All right. The unseen servant puts the book back on the pedestal.
Okay. When that happens, the book closes. After it sets it down, the book closes, and the cover on it starts sizzling and smoking a little bit, and it smells really horrible.
Like burning flesh?
Yeah, a little bit.
That wouldn't smell horrible, unfortunately. Unless it's actually burning, I guess.
Well, skin and hair burning does not.
Yeah, there we go.
Meat that's burning, muscle that's burning smells just like food to us, but...
Yeah. But hair smells disgusting. Do not burn your hair in a candle. It's really bad smell.
Free tip for the audience, do not ever burn your hair.
And keep cats away, because they will absolutely burn their whiskers on that. Okay, is it changing to... Do we just leave now? Do we put that out? Do we... What's going on?
Hopefully it'll be something.
Okay. I wish I had prestidigitation suddenly. Wait a minute, I've got prestidigitation.
It's been a while.
Ask and you shall receive.
I kind of do, just to get rid of the smell.
Magical air freshener.
Magical air freshener, yeah. I'm gonna air freshen the air around us, not around the book, because I don't want to cast spells around the book. Also, maybe just move to the door and let it do its thing. I mean, we don't have to stay and watch it. Why is it doing that?
Like, is it going up in flames at this point, or?
Just sizzling and smoking.
Right. Do we need to put that out, or do we just let it happen and maybe the book goes back to being normal and not skin covered? You think that's what's happening? It's just returning to how it's supposed to be?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Great. So nothing wrong? Just normal things? We should get out? We have places to be? Or are we just going to watch this until it...
I'll get closer and take a quick look.
Okay.
Still not touching it.
It looks like the skin is getting singed at the edges.
So it's like a very slow process?
Yeah, there's no, like, open flames or any kind of obvious anything. It's just a sizzling noise and a horrible smell and a little bit of smoke.
Maybe it's rejecting its current wrapping.
Yeah, I think it's probably time to go.
You do notice, though, Khonnos, when you get up there, that the smoke is actually getting sucked into the soul spire.
Okay, that's weird. Like, does the soul spire seem to be being affected by this?
Not particularly. It's just because it's like this swirling, right, at all the 3 different levels. And the smoke is just sort of getting pulled in and swirling around with the rest of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think this will just sort itself out.
I'm just staring at the Soul Spire thing and going, how are we going to plug the leak? Wait, we had an idea about that, right? The coral? Alright, well, we can't do much else here besides watch a book burn. I'm sure it's fine. Let's go.
Okay. I'll follow Marcel out, I guess.
Alright, so remember you have to do that thing where remember it wouldn't let you in at first because you were trying to keep the other door open and the inside door open and the curtain open and all that, so you have to finagle through that again. You can only have one of those areas open at a time.
Alright, the airlock.
Right. But you make it out of the Soul Spire room with no problem.
Can I take the key?
So remember you put the clear one in the door, right? It won't come out of the door.
I guess it's staying there. Should we tell... What's his face? The disappeared guy?
Gaston?
No, the...
Makodum?
Nope, the other guy that, like, pops in. Tavros.
It starts with an E.
Should we tell
Tavros.
Tavros to, like, keep an eye on the sizzle? Okay.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll call out for Tavros.
He apparates in front of you. Remember, he is this weird black smoky stuff, and then it sort of forms into a shape and becomes him.
Always slightly weird. Tavros, the key to this room is stuck in the door.
So Tavros doesn't... He just sort of nods. He doesn't really... says, mm-hmm.
Isn't that a bit of a security... The book is also sizzling. It has a weird cover, and the cover is sizzling.
I couldn't figure out why you put that cover on it.
We didn't.
It's not the natural cover.
So it's returning to the natural cover?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, we'll assume that that cover is getting burnt off, and to be honest, I didn't like that cover either. None of us wanted to touch it. But it's back where it belongs, and hopefully it stays there this time, and no one takes it.
Very good. Fire won't hurt it, so don't worry.
And I figured magical items tend to be pretty strong like that. Do you know anything about the, Soulspire diorama in there?
What is it that you want to know?
How long has it been, showing that, souls screaming infernal colors? Does it always look like that?
It shows the condition of the Soulspire at all times.
So it's been showing that for what, 50 years?
Something like that. I don't measure time the same way you do.
Any chance you saw, what happened right before that change? Or right as it was changing?
I was not in the spire room at the time. I wasn't paying attention to the spire room at the time.
That's fair.
Let me guess, there was a distraction at that moment. Something strange was happening?
Probably. I can't exactly remember what was happening on that day.
Probably a lot of earthquakes and that stuff. Bet you guys had a handful keeping the water out of book areas.
No, not really. I don't really recall it as a consequential day.
Well, we have done what we came to do, put the book back where it belongs, and we should be on our way, unless we had something else we wanted to check. I don't think we wanted to check the other thing in here.
The other thing.
The gate.
I think that's it.
Which one?
The infernal gate.
Mm.
I think we want to use because we don't want to go anywhere infernal yet. We want to go plug the hole in the spire.
That was the last known writings of Betet that you wanted to know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I checked that out once
did.
already. We got some information from it.
No, it was 6 hours away, so you never went and saw it.
Oh.
It was the one
Right.
book he couldn't bring
I
it
read
to you
another one.
because it can't be removed from its location.
Kind of like the Book of Proofs. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look at the others. Do we want to look at that book before we go, or do we want to just book it to the Soulspire? Or wherever those digits are going to send us?
If we go for that book, that's basically a full day in here.
And I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, I think
We did agree we were going to go back to the Curiosity after this.
I have to say goodbye to my parents, else I'm going to be in big trouble.
I thought you did that, Emran.
Did I?
and not just with a sending spell.
Your father was expressing disappointment that you were going to leave without saying goodbye in person, so you said you would go see him before.
I did. Whoops.
Well, Emran, you have familial responsibilities to attend to. We're gonna meet you at the ship, I guess. I suppose someone should go with you, though.
I mean, I hope it shouldn't take more than an hour. There and back.
Tavros says, so there's nothing more you need from me. You do not need me to lead you to the infernal
thank you,
gate.
No, not for now. Maybe we just ask for directions to get out of here just in case, because it's been like a month.
I mean, you have them written down. You're not going to get lost on
Yeah.
the way out. You do still have...
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
the way that you know how to go takes you through the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem for most of us.
You know.
It's just a bunch of skeletons reanimating. It's fine.
Tavros starts to disapparate into a cloud of black smoke.
Alright, we get going then. We have things to do, places to be.
Holes and dimensions to plug.
Is there anything you want to say to Gaston as you pass through the auditorium? Or you're just going to go through with your heads down?
I mean, we'll say, wrong room. We'll just pass through. Bye.
If you don't stop him, he'll just keep doing his whatever lecture, sermon, whatever you want to call it.
We talked to him already last time.
Yeah,
I think we said all we had to.
He said some very curious things, but I feel like that's another conversation for a different day.
He did?
Yeah, because he was telling me...
I think we at least got him to, like, promise to help the people of Calport should get Harry.
Yeah.
Because now he's a cleric.
He also was telling me... Because... Jerkwad was telling me, like, the marriage of Goros and Straben was a bad thing, like, when they got back together. And, like, it caused all sorts of destruction. But he was like, no, it's a really good thing. And I was like, wait, hold on. So... Again, it's a conversation for a different day, I think. But
Who was telling you it's a bad thing?
yeah, the ex-abbot.
Oh, Tullus.
Yes.
I didn't know, you said the jerkwad, so I didn't know if you were talking about Blacksley or
I mean,
some other NPC.
Blacksley's the troublemaker.
I see. Okay. So you make it to the entrance of the library. What would you like to do now?
If no one else is going, I'll go with Emerin to say goodbye to her parents. Because that's at the castle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll go with her and let the others
At the
go.
Abbey.
At the Abbey.
Actually, I can start getting the curiosity prepared.
Okay, so you go to the Abbey. And Rayla is in the Abbey in a flourish of activity, going through everything that is there and all of the people that work there and all of the acolytes and everything, and learning everyone and talking to everyone, and she's extremely busy. But she will stop and talk to you if you want her to, but she doesn't necessarily have to. She knows that you're leaving. You already really said goodbye to her in person, so...
I'll just, like, walk up and give her a hug and be like, we'll be safe. We'll see you soon. Where's Dad?
He's in the rectory. He's organizing some paperwork in there. He's trying to find out how much funds we have to see if we can build more ships in enough time.
Okay. Well, I'll go in.
So she points, to one of the rooms in the back.
I'll go in and say goodbye and give him a hug. And... Yeah.
He hugs you back.
I'm glad you're safe.
I am glad you're safe. Where is it that you're running off to now?
That's a good question. Just gonna be plane hopping a bit, I think, for a minute. We'll be back shortly, though, especially if things kind of...
Are you sure there isn't anyone else that can do this instead?
No, I think...
You've completed your task. You said you were going to find your mother, and you did. and you brought her back to us. And in fact, you laid the foundation for us to have a wonderful new life here in Cowport.
Yes.
And now you're leaving again.
But the friends that I travel with, like, this wasn't their mission. And one of them does have a mission, and now I'm gonna help him. And, like, Marcel still has stuff that they need to do, and Blacksley is along for the ride a little bit, but, he's my buddy. We've been through a lot. I don't want to leave him. And honestly, this isn't gonna last if we can't stop whatever's coming. So they're better off with my help, I think.
You are an adult, and your mother has told me that I should allow you to be the person that you are meant to be. That doesn't mean I have to like it.
I give him another big hug. I'm glad Mom told you that. That's nice of her.
It's the reason she's able to be the person that she's meant to be, too. I just wish it wasn't so painful for everyone to leave.
I know. But, again, it's not like, yeah, we're going to different planes, but we'll be back. It'll be fine.
Exactly what planes are you going to?
I know we're going to the blue one. That's about it.
You're going to go plateau hopping, but you're not sure where.
It just kind of depends on where things take us a little bit. I know, like, the white and the black are kind of in there somewhere, and potentially the red, but mostly the blue.
The red plateau?
And I run out the door. I'm not staying for this conversation. And I run past Mom again. I'm like, Dad might be a little stressed tonight. I'm really sorry. Bye.
She kind of nods, and she's talking to some other people. Okay, so you're out of the Abbey.
So how'd it go?
It went fine. Let's keep moving.
I see.
So you get down to the ship, and Axley and Khonnos are there with Curiosity, and you are getting ready to leave. So my question to you is, what are you doing with Blacksley?
Taking him with us.
Yeah.
I think we need him.
I
I think his mission is probably coming up.
Any special preparations that you're making to take this trip?
Yeah, we're grabbing as many snacks as possible and stashing them underneath the inside the Curiosity, so we don't go hungry. Maybe,
okay.
I know we're going to the Blue Plateau, but maybe we should take some fresh water with us just in case. I don't know how much fresh water we can carry in here, but at least let's fill our, water skins.
Yeah, as long as we have some, I can create ? If we need it. If you give me some time to prep it. But yeah. As a side note, I think I mentioned last session that I was unattuning from the ring. The Blue Plateau ring. Because that would be bad. But I just have that stashed away. I still have it, but I'm not attuned to it and not using it.
Okay. You also gave Axley a ring.
Yes, I still have that one. That's the platinum one for one of the spells. But I should probably...
Do you have any other way of having a swim speed and or be breathing underwater?
I can help with that.
I don't know about...
Partially, at least. Before we go, I'll cast water breathing on everyone who's coming. So for 24 hours, you're able to breathe underwater.
Make sure you bring that water elemental bowl. That would be the plateau to use it.
Oh yeah, I'm taking that with us.
Yep.
Do we want a short rest after you cast that? Like,
I mean, we could. It lasts for
just so
24 hours.
You're topped up again.
Oh no, I can cast this. I can cast this. This is a special gift. I can use this once per long rest without. It's got its own specific spell slot. So
Great.
Everyone now has gills effectively.
That feels weird.
You probably will, yeah.
Yeah. I also have freedom of movement to help anybody who cannot swim very well, which probably is me. Because I have heavy armor on. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Axley has Mariner's armor.
Okay, I'm gonna use that tomorrow. No, I have it prepared. Okay, I'll use that.
You were thinking ahead.
I was thinking ahead.
So that is a good point. You probably should make sure that you have prepared everything that you need.
Yeah, I think I did do this. Now that I'm looking at my spells, it does look like I did prep, so that's good.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about the rest of us, because I actually swim faster than I walk. I have a walk speed of 25 and a swim speed of 30, so...
And I do not remember... I think I took another diamond. I think I took 2 diamonds from the Abbey, because I wanted one for us and I wanted one for Lucanius.
I think so,
I
yeah.
did, but I didn't write it down.
Yeah, so what I wrote down that you took from the Abbey was...
Sorry, I might have actually.
I wrote down 2 platinum rings, 1 100 gold piece pearl, and 2 300 gold piece diamonds.
Perfect. Okay, so I do have...
But that's my early notes, so it's possible you chose to take something else.
I don't think so. I think that's what I did take. So we do have 1 diamond. Just in case.
Hopefully you won't need it.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
All right, then I guess we're ready to go.
Ready as we'll ever be.
Let's fire it
Who
up.
knows what we're going to find as soon as we throw that lever.
Yeah, so we're talking about levers. We're what? Pressing the blue one? There's a button, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so it's behind a panel, and there is a symbol with what looks like some waves coming up with a stylized kind of letter B, a symbol that looks like a piece of wood with a stylized letter C, a symbol that looks like a stylized kind of double Y weird shape with a tree on it that is green. There's a symbol that has a weird, almost like an upside down sickle shape that is gray. And then there is a symbol with some flames and what's similar to a plus sign, although not exactly, and that is red. So there's a blue, a green, a gray, and a red, and then the common one is like brown. And then there's a side with a door on it.
Right, so I think last time we pressed the plateau we wanted to go to and then press the door.
Mm-hmm. And Axley had to sort of press the door at the right time to get you...
To get us out of it, right?
Yeah.
Because the numbers start moving, right?
Was it to get out?
I remember as soon as you push the plateau button, it kind of like drops into like...
It starts
into
falling.
A mid zone or something, like another zone, and then the numbers start changing.
How many numbers would show up?
4 plus a decimal.
And the decimal is just one number?
I think it was 4 digits and two digits after the decimal.
And the numbers that we got from the Queen were 357997536174. So, do we just want to try the first numbers?
3579. That's the first number.
Because last time we used 1569. And that got us to the Shadowfell.
Which one did you use last time?
1569.
And that got you to Darkport.
Could you read the numbers the Queen gave us again?
357997536174. Which 6174 is the one that's repeated all over the place. And 357, like that specific string shows up right before it says Vadimecumomnia. Come with me all.
So, let me correct you about the 6174 being all over the place. It's not all over the place. It's at the end of every sentence.
It's like, it almost works like a period for the number section.
Right, but that's different from being all over the place.
True. Technically true.
Which makes it seem like a final.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is what I was referring to. But you make it clearer by that, in that it's always an ending to a number sequence.
What's the very first one?
Very first one is 6174 as well. So it is bound by it's the first number, it's the last number, and it's the last number in each sequence. Though it does show up in between. So I guess that is like a separator, maybe? I don't know. At that point, we're guessing. Because it does show up after Well of Deceit.
The other one we might want to look at is 2689, because that's the one that's after Through the Glacier, Through the Ice.
See, that's what I was thinking. But Through the Dirt and Through the Stone was Darkport.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I'm thinking about this way too hard. Alright, so our options are 3579 or 2689.
Because we don't know where 3579 goes. We just know that that was what the Queen gave us, and it's the number that's shown right before Vadimecumomnia. So maybe we go through 2689 first? Because we know that the Soul Spire is in the water plane, right? Like, that is...
So the Soul Spire goes through all of the planes that you were talking about, right? So it goes from the White Plateau into the Dark Plateau into the Red Plateau. The Blue Plateau itself is the river that is carrying... It's sort of a river that winds through the plateaus, and so because of that, it's also a river winding between the plateaus as part of how the Soul Spire pours out.
And we had determined that the plug that needed filling was accessible through the Blue Plateau.
Basically, what happened was someone told you some things, and you conjectured that the rift that is occurring that allowed the water from the Blue Plateau to fill the common plateau is because there is a gap or hole or rift in the Blue Plateau. And so what you were told is, if you plug that...
Which is why we think we need to go to the Blue Plateau and not to one of the other plateaus that has the Soul Spire.
And then you have the problem of getting the fluid back.
Yeah, that's part 2. But... So, if I understand correctly, the, Lake of Souls, or whatever it was called, the bowl that got emptied, was part of the Blue Plateau.
Yeah, that was at the bottom of the Threefold Lake, wasn't it?
That's what I was
That's
thinking,
really where
the
we need to go.
Threefold Lake. So that the Threefold Lake is part of the Blue Plateau. At least it's filled with water from there.
The folds... Yes. In terms of your understanding, yes, that is correct.
I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that, but my tiny mind can only take so much.
No, it's just that what you don't necessarily know everything,
yeah.
right? It's you all have only been told the tiniest piece of.
No one's really been to any of these places.
Makodum told us we could get through the threefold lake by going through the White Plateau or the Red Plateau or the Dark Plateau.
So not the Blue Plateau? Because that's where we need to go, to the Trifold Lake.
Does the sort of mind map I have in my head from doing Commune, is that giving me any insight or direction?
That leads you right to the bottom of the threefold lake, and it has multiple entry points.
Okay, do any of those entry points correspond with any of these numbers from this ritual? Or places mentioned in this ritual?
So the problem is that you don't know what these numbers all necessarily mean, so it's hard to say whether they correspond. Right? Your feeling is, yeah, probably yes.
Well, if each of those passages with the numbers generally corresponds to a plateau, like we can identify the Red Plateau, the Dark Plateau, and then it has the numbers in it. If the Soul Spire goes through all of the plateaus, then would that mean also that one of those numbers that is common to each of those passages maybe refers to the Soul Spire, because it's just like the Soul Spire goes through all the plateaus, that coordinate is also going inside each of the passages for the various plateaus?
You're thinking of 6174.
Yeah.
I mean, my other guess was that the 3579 is referring to going directly to the Soul Spire. Because of the whole Vadimecumomnia. Because that was Come to Me All, if I remember correctly, and that seems like a great way to summarize what happens in the Soul Spire with all the souls.
Yep.
Right, and that number sequence is also at the end of the very first paragraph. The one shard to concentrate, and then it ends with the 3579. So I feel like that's kind of the...
Yeah, so my guess would be that 3579 will take us directly to where the gap is. I could be completely wrong, of course.
It's all conjecture at this point.
But yeah, we have to pick a number.
Well, we know one it's not.
Yeah.
Since we've already been there.
I mean, the other thing we can do is press the blue button, press the door, and then the first number that looks like one of the numbers we've thought that would work, we just stop it and see where we end up.
I
Third floor.
like that plan.
Road trip.
Honestly, we kind of just have to pick and go, so we might as well, right?
Yeah, sure. If we don't like where we go, we just press the door button again. Wrong door, Dawn.
Okay. So what are you doing? You're going to press the blue button
and press the door.
Okay. And so are you having Axley do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so I need an Arcana check from Axley.
I'll just roll first before I boot up my computer. I rolled a 9, but I can use luck if that's not good enough.
What's your Arcana bonus?
Arcana is +2.
Well, you have double what I have.
So it's an 11. I mean, I can re-roll it if we want to try to get a better result.
It is kind of on the low side.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe
Okay, I'll use luck. 13. So that's 14, 15. Yeah.
Okay, so when you press the blue button, you all get that odd sensation, that stomach dropping out, falling feeling that you get And as you press the door, numbers start to show up as Axley's finger gets close to the door, right? Remember, this is what happened when you went to the Dark Plateau. As he was about to press the door, the numbers start to show up at the top.
It's before you press the door. Okay.
Well, it's because it's the energy of, so it's noticing that you're going to press, and so when you put your finger close, it starts showing the numbers that have the different locations. And so the Arcana roll is to see if he can press the door, like fully depress the door button at 3579. That's what you decided, right? 3579?
I think so. I think we were going to do if either 3579 shows up first or 2689.
Or 2689.
Yeah.
Which one did you want to do?
The first one that shows up, I think.
I mean, do the numbers just start from a baseline and count, or was there some?
It's almost random. It almost feels random because it's planar, so it's not really, there's not an order, it's not a hierarchy. And these aren't coordinates like GPS coordinates where if you keep just going in a straight line, one piece of them changes but the others stay the same, right?
Okay, well let's do that first one. Your hunch about the Soul Spire. Might as well try that one. That the 2.
The 3579. Okay. So as he presses the door button, the falling feeling stops, and it stops abruptly, and you feel the curiosity land, just thunk.
Is there a number flashing still?
Yeah, 3579.
Can we activate the view screen or the window or whatever
Yeah, so if you press all the buttons and everything to open the windows open, and what you see outside is partly sandy, partly kind of like ash, cracked ground with what looks like dead kelp and whatnot on it.
Like the bottom of a lake kind of thing that's been drained?
Yeah, kind of.
Should we get out and investigate?
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Is there a lot of light? Daytime kind of light? Or what's the lighting like?
Yeah, there is a dim light right now. You kind of feel like it's almost like a sunrise kind of situation, but there's no sun.
How far can we see through the viewport? Like, is it just cracked?
Really, really
and is
far.
It like straight, or does it look like a bowl?
It's like a flat. There are some small hills, but most of it is flat.
It's almost like being in a desert, basically.
But with kelp. Would if this is the Blue Plateau, would it have drained this much that there's no water?
Okay. I guess we're piling out and figuring out where we are. Blacksley, don't go too far.
Yeah, we're not going to leave him in the Curiosity. We're definitely taking him out with us.
Can we, as we get out, can we see like any kind of unique looking landmarks or anything like that, or is it just hills and kelp as far as we can see?
So most of you just see hills and kelp and dead sea anemones and stuff like that. But once again, my love of the history check comes in. That's sarcastic, by the way. I hate the history check. Khonnos, give me a history check.
12.
You know where you are. And you think that the place to get to the bottom of the Threefold Lake is about 7 miles to the south of where you are right now.
Okay. We've got a bit of a walk then, or I would.
Well, we could take Curiosity.
Yeah, better just fly there.
I'm going to check the rod of finding that is tuned to finding Laralac and see what it shows.
It shows dark, smoky, fluidy whitish threads running through it.
So he's not on this plane then, this plateau.
Correct.
All right, I guess we're not piling out. And Khonnos, you want to take the wheel?
Yeah.
Careful with the accelerator. It's really, really delicate.
Yeah, might as well.
Don't floor it. You're going to overshoot by 15 miles.
So as you start to travel, you notice that there is some water here. It is, however, in depressions that are very shallow, and it looks really putrid, the water. It's very kind of muddy, and it's teeming with these nasty looking insects, and it does not look healthy at all. And almost everything that you're seeing around you is dead, because it just has not had the things that it needs to survive.
You all see Khonnos starting to get visibly shaken as he takes all this in.
And as you get closer to this area that Khonnos is leading you to, you start to see more of those sort of pools, and they're getting a little bit deeper, but nothing that looks hardly deep at all. Like you could tell, because you could see that there's sort of little depressions, and they might be 100 yards wide, or, several dozen meters long, but only a meter or so wide, like little ruts in the ground that just have the tiniest amount of water in them, and it looks really bad. The ground where you're at now is starting to look a little more like mud rather than hard pack dry soil. And so when you get closer to the destination, you do see a larger, almost lake open up in front of you. And it looks like it has almost a whirlpool motion happening.
So that looks like it. That's the lake draining out.
Yeah.
Draining through something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, take us as close as we can, I guess.
I mean, we could take the Curiosity can go down into it if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But we all have water breathing, right? So
we do have water breathing. Our other option would be to leave it hovering above that, so we have a kind of anchor that we could tie a rope to. Because we can leave the Curiosity hovering, can't we? Like it just hovers in the air.
If you trust Blacksley to drive it inside.
Well, how big is this lake? Could we just put it down on the edge?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't we...
You probably could put it down on the edge, but it's very muddy, so it might sink into the mud.
Well, maybe not that then.
So we can't leave it like hovering without someone actually at the wheel, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Fly around a little bit and try to find like a safe place to set it down, or no? Or would that...
You'll have to go about a mile back, at least.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, then let's leave it hovering then.
Okay. Blacksley, you think you can do that? Our lives will depend on you.
There's a second for everything.
Okay. Do we want to tie a rope and like go down?
Well, I mean, he could just be right above the surface.
I mean, there's no telling how deep this is, so...
I know. That's what I'm worried about.
I used to have fly.
I still do.
So also it's a whirlpool, so what happens in a whirlpool?
Get sucked down.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking tying a rope to the...
Do we want to fly over the whirlpool while we're here and scout it out? Just look down into it? See how big it is, and maybe we can see what's at the bottom?
Yeah, sure. Can we see down it?
So the whole thing is it looks to be about 2 miles across, the whirlpool, I mean. And it's moving the water, and it seems like it's moving relatively slowly, but it's a 2-mile circle at the top of this whirlpool that then sucks down the middle part. So you know it must be pretty strong, because even though it looks like it's moving slowly, it's fast enough to sort of suck down the middle of this. You can't see the bottom. Like it just goes down, and it just looks like blue water down there. You can't really tell.
So I'm imagining going with the curiosity, like where the whirlpool heart is, and like lowering it to just above the surface of the water.
Why not take it down further, as far as we can go, and see if we get to the bottom? We're close enough to it.
Do we want to do that?
If it's that wide, 2 miles,
Yeah,
and it's
that might
huge.
actually be smart, because worst case scenario, we can plane shift out of there.
Yeah, because otherwise we'll be swimming down a long distance if it's a 2-mile wide whirlpool before it narrows to the bottom.
Right, it might be pretty deep.
Okay. So we'll stay in it and keep descending through the center of the whirlpool.
Khonnos, what do you think?
I mean, so is my, the map I have in my head, is that still giving me like a lead on this?
Yeah. Right down to the center of it.
Yeah, I think straight down's probably the best way.
My one concern is getting out of the curiosity should we need to once we're inside the water, without flooding the curiosity.
Well, we can stop before we go down into the water. We can just stay in the air as far down as we can go.
Get it down far safely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go down the whirlpool as much as we can without going into the water. Because there's a funnel in the center, right? That's like lower than the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Until we're
Right.
just above the surface of water in the center of the whirlpool.
Or whatever we find down there.
Okay. Who's driving the curiosity down?
I am.
If it takes some dexterous movements, I can do it.
I think Matt was about to say that because we had Khonnos at the wheel.
I think I can. Well, I still have my luck too. So if we need to get lucky, but I have a pretty high dex. So if it takes some careful maneuvering,
So Axley's going to drive, or Khonnos is going to
I'll
drive?
drive.
yeah, I can take it unless you think you've got special handling skills.
Is it dexterity to pilot it, or?
Well, so it depends. If the thing is being subjected to force, it could be dexterity or it could be strength.
I'm good with either.
Okay. Let's let Khonnos drive then. He seems to know where we're going to, so
Okay, Axley has much more experience driving.
it's true.
You guys
Could
good?
Axley aid? Or Khonnos aid Axley? I don't know how much space we have in the driver's seat.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's not quite conducive to that type of aid. I just want to know who's doing it, so who has to roll.
Yeah.
Doesn't really...
I vote Khonnos.
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
So Khonnos, why don't you give me a strength check? Because as you're flying down, as you get to the point where it's coming down to the sort of the apex bottom of the thing, which sounds weird because apex means top, but it's the pointy
it's
part at the
tapering down.
bottom, right? So as it's tapering down, not just the water is having force applied, but the wind is having force applied. So as you're flying down, it starts becoming really, really difficult to control the curiosity. So I'll need a strength check from you.
I cannot remember the last time I rolled double digits in this game. 14 total.
Okay. You're barely keeping it from being sucked into the water.
Can I help with my storm guide feature to lessen the power of the wind?
I was just thinking the same
What
thing.
does your storm guide feature do?
It says if it's windy, you can use a bonus action each round to choose the direction that the wind blows in a 100-foot radius sphere centered on me. the wind blows in that direction as long as I'm concentrating on it. So I'm thinking this is probably too much to completely stop the wind, but maybe force it to go the other way so that it
balances out.
Or at least balance it out a bit. Like calm the wind a bit. Or maybe even just make the wind go directly up so that it's not battering at us from the sides.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay. So I'll steady the winds, basically.
So, how far down do you want to go? Because if you go down another sort of 1,000 feet or so, you're going to be almost to the point, but you're going to have to make another roll. That roll will be with advantage because of that feature.
I mean, I think that's where we want to get to, as close as we can.
Going.
So let's keep going.
Okay, so go ahead and make me another strength roll with advantage.
Hey, I found a way to aid.
Appreciate it.
There you go.
Okay, advantage 23.
Okay. So you have no problem holding it there for a few minutes and watching, and what you see at the bottom is very hard to make out because the water is swirling around, but you do see what looks like things moving in the water, if that makes sense.
Living things
Creatures.
or just debris?
It's you can't tell because they're just sort of trapped in the water going, at least that's what it looks like. But there definitely is a downward pull, because not only are you fighting against being sucked through the side of the whirlpool, you're fighting being sucked down.
Yeah.
I can control the wind and keep us steady right now, but if we're going into that water and leaving just Blacksley at the wheel, Blacksley might lose control of it. Especially if we get 100 feet away from it and I can no longer control the wind. Because this is a constant, it's supposedly just a turn, so I have to keep concentrating on the wind itself and not do anything else.
So what's the alternative? Take it back up to the top and then have to swim all the way? Because how far did we travel down into the whirlpool from the surface?
I mean, it's 2 miles across, so...
At least 1,000 feet, so...
Yeah, we're not going to have a rope that big. I mean, the other option is letting us get sucked in with the Curiosity, but again, I don't know if that's a good idea.
My big worry is that we get sucked through the breach and then wind up who knows where.
Wherever. We don't want that to happen.
How do we do this? How do we plug it? Do we just use the Curiosity as a plug?
You said last session you're going to fold Blacksley up and put him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Blacksley's big enough to plug the hole.
Well, I mean, the Great Coral is supposed to be at the bottom of this, and I've got the missing piece to it, so just put that back in and hope for the best. And I have something that might help with that.
I mean, that sounded so easy in theory. Now that we're standing on top of a huge maelstrom, it suddenly doesn't sound that easy.
I do have control water, so if we do go down with the Curiosity, I can part water and make us a little bubble to go out so that it doesn't flood the Curiosity.
Okay.
I guess
that's a good idea.
At that point, I can also redirect flow, so if we do get stuck and start getting pulled through, I can at least try to help us out.
Because I'm thinking the Curiosity is probably more stable than us swimming.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise, Marcel may have to stay on the Curiosity to help Blacksley keep it afloat.
So if we're going to take it in, we should probably go back up and out so we're not going into the force of the wall of the whirlpool, and just go out of the whirlpool area and enter the water.
I mean, no matter what, once we get into the funnel area, it's going to suck us in, and we're going to be at the mercy of that. I say we just...
Yeah, but I mean, if we go up and then to the edge of where the whirlpool starts, and we just go down and straight down from there, then when we hit bottom, hopefully we'll be if it's 2 miles across, we'll be a mile from the center.
See if we can see anything underneath the water.
Yeah, that way we don't have to start too close to it, and then we can gauge how close we can get. See how strong the pull is from there.
Because the problem is, if we're thinking of this correctly, we need to get to the actual center where the most force is.
Yeah.
I mean, a mile underwater is not too far to go if we've got water breathing and decent movement.
Just think. Do we want to try that? Or do we go down in the center where we are right now and hope our water controlling can work?
How long does the water controlling last for? 10 minutes?
Yeah, concentration up to 10.
So you're thinking of using water control to be able to enter into the water through the side of the funnel?
Yeah, we can try. Because I can either, like, part it around us, or I can redirect it so it's just not as forceful, depending on what we're trying to do.
Because we're gonna have to get a ways away from the funnel. Because the minute that the water interacts with you in close proximity to the funnel, you're in a maelstrom. So, I mean, we don't want to take the Curiosity into the water of the funnel. We want to be a ways from it if we're going to take it into the water.
Yeah, I kind of like Axley's plan. I think if we start in, like, the gentler part and just work our way in towards the center, that way we're not slamming into the center of it in that wall.
Because then it's gradual and you can make decisions as it gets stronger. You can gauge the safest way to go.
So I feel like if we start in the center, it's going to be a lot for the Curiosity to handle. And the last thing we want is the thing to break.
Yeah, because then we're stuck here.
We suck.
Yeah, alright.
Don't we have a emergency gate spell?
If we're going to start from the top, I mean, I can do something that would help us travel pretty quickly, potentially, for a while. Alright, I'll fly back up. And kind of out to the edge.
Out to the edge of the water?
Yeah, like where the edge of the whirlpool is starting.
Okay. And then you're going to go down and try to work your way in toward the center.
So, are we going to stay in the Curiosity doing that, or are we going to try to swim down?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll stay in the Curiosity.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, then, just kind of, submerge it from here, and then just, down the drain we go.
It's hard to go down at first because there's not really that much room on the outside of the whirlpool. But once you do get down a little bit, it does get a little bit easier because you're farther away from the actual action of the whirlpool. And you see all kinds of creatures, small fish and larger, octopus and all that kind of stuff. And they're constantly seemingly sucked into this whirlpool and being thrown around and sometimes kicked out of it and then pulled back in. And it's a pretty harrowing. It's really harrowing to watch them all sort of get pulled in. There's also a lot of debris. There's a lot of wood. There's a lot of rocks and different things as you go down. The problem also is that as you get closer to the bottom, the effect of the whirlpool close to the bottom is that it's stirring up all of the stuff on the bottom of what would have been the lake because, right, it's a threefold lake. It's kind of a lake. It's kind of a plainer lake, but it's a lake. And so it has kind of this muddy, granular sediment stuff that would be resting at the bottom, kind of like what you were walking on when you were topside. You saw the sort of cracked, dried, muddy area. Now it's in the lake, so it's being churned up and whatnot. So your visibility gets really low, which means you're at a relatively low visibility as you start going toward the center.
Were there spotlights on the Curiosity or anything like that?
There are lights on the Curiosity, yeah. But,
turn
it's sort of like turning on your brights in fog, right?
Yeah.
In some ways, it almost makes it worse in a way because now all the light's reflecting off of all the particles floating around in the water that got churned up, all the silt. But you still kind of, you can feel from the force of how the water's flowing, you can feel when you're getting closer or farther away from it. And if you try to take the curiosity, staying as far away as possible to take it all the way around just to kind of get a view. There is one point where you see next to the point, the focus point of the whirlpool, you see a dome that's probably 20 foot in diameter, sitting next to where the apex point of the whirlpool is. And it looks like, it almost looks like clear glass. It's a kind of a clear glass dome. Maybe it's 30 feet in diameter. It's hard to tell from this far away. And it looks like it's sitting on the bottom of the lake bed, right next to the point where the whirlpool is apexing in and everything's getting sucked in.
Okay. I'm going to pile towards that.
Okay. As you get closer, you see that the apex part where everything's getting pulled in, it's actually a larger kind of rip in the bottom of the lake, but everything's only going in at one point. And down here from the bottom of it, it almost seems like it's a little bit slower than how it felt to be in the whirlpool up top. And as you get closer to the dome, you can see that there are things moving around in it.
Inside the dome.
Yes.
Can I make out what they are?
It's hard to tell from here, but they look humanoid.
And it's not a dome of force. It's clearly a physical, like, glass.
It looks like glass. It might be a dome of force, but what it looks like is from the outside is
any
glass.
breaks in it that look like doors or ways in?
Not that you can see.
Can I try to set the curiosity down, like, on the ground next to it?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'll land as close to it as I can.
Okay, you land. There's still a lot of force pulling on the curiosity, but it's staying stable on the floor of the lake bed right now.
Now that we're closer, can we see anything else inside the dome?
You see a large piece of coral.
I feel like
I mean, can I, are there any, like, features or decorations on it that might tell, like, who or what constructed it? You know, like literally just a clear glass dome.
It looks like a clear glass dome, literally. Just a big dome popped over a big piece of coral. Although now you're closer, you can see that the creatures walking around inside of it look like those weird fish men that were climbing on the ship with the sort of petal-shaped faces. There are 5 of those in there. The ones that turned into half fish when they got killed.
Okay.
oh yeah, those guys.
So even if we break it, that's not, well, I mean, that's
That's part of it.
my big fear is if we break it, the coral goes flying through the breach too. We could just teleport inside. Dimension door in.
There's got to be a way in and out, I would think.
Is there enough room inside for the curiosity?
Imagine you said 20 to 30 feet in diameter, so I would imagine so.
Yeah, the coral's in there, though, along with 5 other humanoids.
Yeah, it would be cramped.
It's going to get real crowded if you put the
Problem is
curiosity in there.
who all can dimension door.
I can.
Because we have to be able to take everybody, right?
Yeah.
So you could take one person.
Now I can also.
Oh, you have dimension door as well?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So both of you could dimension door with the 2 of us that can't inside the dome from inside the curiosity.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that then.
Well, we need to be prepared and ready to fight instantly. It's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like unleash, like not even wait to parlay. We need.
Yeah.
I think we just need to go in firing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is. We know these are hostiles. They're up to no good.
Yeah. I'll cast mage armor first.
Okay. The question is, do you want me to cast Control Water to help actually keep this thing anchored before we leave?
Well, you said it wasn't moving, right? On the ground.
Right.
The pull wasn't strong enough for it to move.
So maybe we just leave Blacksley here in case, so that he can maneuver. Ideally, keep it in the same spot, because if we need to dimension door out, we only have this as coordinate. And
That
then
works for
go.
me.
Now we probably can't use any spells that have like huge area effects and
Yeah,
could damage the dome, right? Is the idea being we don't want to damage the dome?
I think so.
No destructive wave.
Anything that does like thunder damage, probably. I know Emran's not going to be thrilled to hear that, but
I was gonna say like half my arsenal.
Just
yeah.
Emran. Just Emran.
and Marcel. Yeah. Can we tell if there's water inside the dome or no?
It does not look like there's water inside the dome.
Okay.
Which is problematic, right? Because coral.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh.
We want to get rid of the dome, but first we want to fix the.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. You said the dome was like radius 20 feet?
It looks like it's 20 or 30 feet in diameter, I said.
Diameter.
Yeah.
Oof, that's
it's relatively small. Yeah. So you're going to have to like pop in, hit them hard, and hope that...
Man, the problem is we can't just like cast spells from here inside the dome, because then we'd be possibly hurting the
coral, yeah.
The coral.
Yeah.
Well, I put my hand on Axley's shoulder and cast Warding Bond. So Axley, as long as you stay within 60 feet of me, you get a +1 to your AC and saving throws, and you have resistance to all damages.
Okay, thank you.
And then every time you take damage, I take the same amount of damage. So just that's the drop.
It's split between the two, yes.
You're sharing an HP pool.
Pretty much. Right. How big is the dome compared to the hole the whirlpool's going through? Out of curiosity.
The dome's bigger. Well, so also before I forget to tell you, Craig popped out again, so you'll have to start your ennui caster thing again. But the crack that has been made in the bottom of the lake is big. It's long and narrow, but the dome is bigger than the actual hole where everything is being sucked into. That's why the force of that whirlpool is so strong down there, because it's taking 2 miles worth of water and pulling it down through a very small, it's like very highly pressurized, right?
Yeah. Be something if we can somehow get the dome over top of that. Can the Curiosity burrow?
Not as far as you know.
We haven't discovered that yet. I mean, I could temporarily plug the hole with a wall of force, maybe, but that would be a temporary solution.
So what is it that you would all like to do? How would you like to approach this situation?
I think our plan is the 2 smalls are going to dimension door in, while the 2 bigs dimension door in. And spells ready to cast and kill a bunch of fish people.
Sounds right to me.
I mean, I could try mass suggestion on them, but I have to be able to inside the dome because they have to hear me. So that might.
Yeah, I think we pretty much need to be inside the dome for most of our tactics.
Do we know how many of them are in the dome?
You only saw 5 of them moving around.
5.
And there's a pretty large piece of coral in there.
Yeah.
But the thing's not that big, so.
Have they noticed
it? Is the dome centered over the coral?
It's hard to tell. It seems like the coral is on like the far side, next to the wall of the dome. not directly in the center. In other words, but it's hard. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, I suspect the coral is right beside the hole, so they couldn't put the dome in the centered on it. Okay, so yeah, have they reacted to like the curiosity approaching?
No.
Okay, so we can leave the curiosity about 400. Do we want to leave it 400 feet away since that's within the range of Dimension Door?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That way they don't see us like getting super close.
Get close. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we get within Dimension Door range.
I mean, you turned the lights on, so.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And where inside do we want a dimension door? We want a dimension door on the coral side?
That's a good idea. If we have ourselves between them and the coral, that might give Khonnos a chance to possibly figure what's going on, though we're probably just going to murder these guys first.
He said he might mass suggest them, so.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Need to double check with that because I was thinking about casting spirit guardians right before we go in. So when we go in, they're just going to be attacked by
in
spirits.
The area.
So
yeah, we don't want to like undo each other's spell effects.
So in terms of holding spells, the two that are dimension dooring cannot prepare a spell for when we arrive because they are actually dimension dooring on that turn, basically. Which means if we want to try mass suggestion and see if we can avoid the fight, we'd have to wait and basically be beholden to our initiative rolls.
So let me put that in mechanical terms. If you all dimension door in, that's your surprise round, which means two of you are spending the surprise round dimension dooring and the other two get to act. However, if Khonnos is one of the ones casting Dimension Door, when he gets into the dome, he can't immediately cast Mass Suggestion. You have to wait one round, and then by then we're rolling initiative, because that's not the surprise round anymore. That's what Karu's trying to say.
Yeah. Which means they will get a chance to act.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we could just basically have... Because the thing is, with... If you do the spell that you're planning to, Emran, that's going to stay up. So Mash Suggestion would break as soon as they take damage.
Yeah, that's why I want to double check.
So we either go in guns blazing or we let them attack first.
And most of the spells I can use are like that too, where it's like, sleep, suggestion, etc., where if they work, then they'll disengage, but if they take damage, it'll break the spell.
Yeah, so the two people who can influence them are the ones dimension dooring.
Yes.
Can put up spiritual weapon instead. That only targets one person. I was thinking about having that area effect because I can control what it attacks, so it won't attack the coral or us or the dome. But if we want to play it safer, I can forego that one and just focus on, something else, spiritual weapon.
Yeah, because I was thinking of just dishing out some damage initially, just in case the suggestion doesn't work on all of them, and then we can take down whatever. Because I do like the idea of not killing them. We might be able to get information out of them.
Yeah.
The
other thing I can do, Marcel, is cast Holy Weapon on your spinny sword. Dancing sword. That does an extra 2d8. That could help that out.
True.
Just
I forgot about that.
Prep.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be using the spinny sword at least to begin with, because I was planning to just bonus action Eldritch Blast, because then I get 6 Eldritch Blasts per turn. At least starting with that. So first round, I can basically Eldritch Blast 6 things, and there's only 5 of them in the dome.
Okay. Yeah, do that. That sounds better.
So that's what I was planning to do for the surprise round.
Okay.
And I think that still works, because then if you want to mass suggest, they've already taken the damage. Though, does mass suggestion have effects if you're in combat? Like, does that give them advantage or something?
I am reading through the spell text now. They're immune if they can't be charmed. I can't ask them to do something to like kill themselves, which I'm just going to tell them to stand in the corner and don't interfere with us. Although it's a dome, there are no corners. Stand by the wall and
They can
just
clean the
start
dome.
walking
Say
around.
the dome is just infinitely dirty and it must be cleaned. They need
Tidy
to start
clean,
wiping
yeah.
the dome clean.
Oh, there you go, like that.
Okay, so it doesn't say anything about if they're in combat, they get like advantage on their save or something.
No, there's nothing like that. It's not like a charm monster or a charm person or anything like that.
Cool. So we teleport in, and I Eldritch Blast to tenderize them, and then I guess we roll initiative. Emran can still do like damage attacks. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can do my spiritual weapon as a bonus action.
killing these. I'm not too worried about killing these guys. At the most, it might be interesting to leave one alive to try to get information out of them, but I don't even know if we can communicate with them. I don't recall them actually speaking.
I think we have a lot of psychic skills or spells that can communicate, right? Haven't we done that in the past?
The one thing I am afraid of is them calling reinforcements in some way, shape, or form.
But any reinforcements that we'd immediately have to worry about would be inside the dome. I mean, have we been able to see like what they're actually doing in there? Are they just standing around? Or what are they doing?
They're kind of it's hard to tell, but they're kind of moving around, and they obviously communicate with each other, and sometimes they kind of look out the dome at the whirlpool, and then they go back sort of closer to the coral. It's difficult to see what's going on. They don't appear to be doing much. They don't have like an activity that they're doing that you can tell what it is. Like they're not making weapons or sleeping or, anything other than talking to each other. That's all you can kind of see.
So kind of keeping watch, basically.
Yeah.
And being bored about it.
Okay.
All right. I think we have a plan. Let's DD.
Okay, so Khonnos and Axley are dimension dooring in. Blacksley is staying behind, controlling the curiosity.
Correct.
And as soon as you get in, what's going to happen? You're going to cast.
You cast Eldritch Blast.
Okay.
And then some more Eldritch Blast.
And then what's Imran doing?
Bonus action spiritual weapon. It'll attack one of them. Probably shatter, because it's a point of my choice. It's a 10-foot sphere. So I think I can get some she's in there without hitting anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my!
Especially not the dome.
Okay.
Shatter in a glass dome. Uh-oh.
It's a 10-foot radius sphere. That's pretty close to...
Oh, wait, no, that's a
20
bad
feet,
idea.
20 feet across, yeah.
That's the size of the dome.
Nope, that's the size of the dome. Never mind, not that
Yeah,
one.
so you'll hit everything in it, even if you don't break it. If you put that thing right in the middle.
Yeah, you'll hit us, you'll hit the coral, you'll hit the glass.
Yeah, there's probably no way to cast that without hitting either the coral or the side of the dome.
Yeah, I also have shatter and also already discarded that idea.
So, where are you going to dimension into? Next to in the middle, or next to the wall, or how are you?
Next to the
that?
coral, between them and the coral, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't really do that to all of them because there's two of them that are next to the coral all the time.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, we'll teleport close to those two then.
Okay. Okay. So everybody's in agreement with that?
But not in melee with them.
Yep.
I don't need disadvantage.
Okay.
Right,
So you're going to be a little bit
relatively close. Yeah, probably close to the center, I guess. Then.
Okay.
Because how big?
I mean, it's 30 feet. It's not. I mean, it's within everybody's walking distance. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Let's go.
Okay. So you dimension in. They are shocked and surprised, and so it's a surprise round. So, Karu, do you want to?
Yeah, so my first 3, I'm going to aim at the 2 by the coral.
Okay.
2 to one and then 1 to the other. Wow. Okay. What's my bonus? +8. All right, so the lowest was an 18.
Okay. That hits, obviously.
So that'll be 8 to one and 8 to the other.
Okay.
And then I'll do that again with a bonus action. That'll be a 16 on the lowest.
That hits.
Okay. So that'll be 13 to one and 2 to the other.
And you're doing the same 2 or 2 different ones?
Nope, the same 2. I want to try to take
Okay.
down the ones by the coral. I want to protect the coral, basically.
13 and then 2, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, my dice are rolling nice.
Okay. Anything else?
That is all I can do.
Okay. Imran?
Spiritual weapon on the one closest to the coral but farthest away from me. And I'm going to cast
Okay.
spiritual weapon at 3rd level.
Do you want to do that on the one that Marcel already hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'm going to attack the other one that's closest to the coral with my mace.
Okay.
I'll do spiritual weapon first. That is a 19 to hit.
That hits.
13 damage on that one. And then
Okay.
I'm gonna run up to the other one. I know we're underwater. This doesn't count as like rain, does it? Rain. My bonus increases if it's raining. I just thought
You're in a dry area right now. You're in a dry dome.
okay, that's fair.
Nice try though.
It's a natural 20.
Okay. This is your attack or the spiritual weapon? This is your
This
attack.
is my attack with the
Okay.
glory of Goros. So
Okay.
if it happens, I don't know if it's a good thing.
Oh yeah. What happens when you hit a critical hit with that?
A lightning bolt shoots out of the clouds and attacks the target.
What?
I was a little worried about where I'm doing my mace too, but this was the only thing I got. So it takes 6 total damage. Like 12. No. 9 damage. Sorry, math. It needs
So
to make
you're-
a DC 15 save.
A DC what? Dex save?
Team.
Your damage for your mace was maxed, right? Because you crit. So you don't roll your damage. You max your damage, and then it has the extra effect.
Okay. It's still 9 damage.
Okay, so 9 damage for the actual mace part, the physical damage. Okay, so and then I rolled a 5, so it failed its save.
It takes 19 points of lightning damage.
Okay.
How does that work if you're in a dome underneath a body?
Yeah,
of
that's
water?
kind of interesting.
We're about to find out.
It's like a little cloud, like above my head, goes pew.
No. A big lightning bolt
Oh no!
comes down through the water, electrifying all the water, and it hits the dome,
No.
and it kind of goes bzzz, and it spreads to the bottom of the dome, and now the dome is like one of those lightning ball things where you touch it, the lightning. So it's got this coating of lightning sitting on it, and you can see the water around the immediate pieces of lightning bolt is boiling a little bit, and then the lightning bolt in the water is kind of going off and shooting in all directions. So one of you is going to have to roll a dexterity save for the curiosity, because this entire lake is now electrified, and the curiosity.
The entire lake?
The entire lake has these electrical tendrils coming out of it, going through it.
Okay.
And if you look, you can see it arcing from sort of one wall of the whirlpool, and it even arcs over to the other, and it's still underwater. And it's crazy. It is craziness. You've never seen a lightning bolt come into the water before, but this isn't just a regular lightning bolt. Yeah. It's a divine power lightning bolt coming in.
Did it still hit the guy inside the dome?
Yes, it affected the guy inside the dome. The lightning bolt did not come inside the dome. It got caught outside, and it's sort of what is now surrounding it. But the guy took the damage.
Okay. I feel like Emran should make that save for the.
No, I should not.
And you're the one that nat 20'd it.
Yeah, that means I'm not going to roll well the second time. Alright. Guess so. I kid you not. It's another nat 20.
Okay.
That's a good thing. That's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I'm not joking. It's the dice that... it's the rainbow dice.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Oh my god.
Okay. So that's the end of the first round.
Yep.
Oh my god. I cause all sorts of issues.
Now we have to roll initiative.
Emran,
oh my god.
I didn't know that you could do that with your weapon.
It doesn't normally happen.
She's never crit with it before.
Oh, now I roll a 5. It's fine. I hardly ever use it because I normally just use my spells, but I can't use any of my spells down here.
I just thought you were gonna, I don't know, Sacred Flame him.
Probably would have been smarter.
Doesn't your Sacred Flame do like 3d8 radiant now?
Was it?
I rolled a 21 for my initiative.
18 for me.
8 for me.
What did Imran get?
5.
Okay, so I rolled a 7. So it goes Marcel, Khonnos, Axley, the enemies, and then the Maven of Lightning Bolts.
Can you describe what it looks like inside here now that we're inside? Like, where is everyone located? And
so actually, there's a very bright light going on inside right now because the walls of this thing, instead of being transparent, are now like a glowing lightning bolt. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's very bright in there. And you see an enormous piece of coral sitting along one edge. You're standing roughly in the center of the dome. The other 3 creatures, so the 2 that they've been attacking, are standing next to the coral. The other 3 were on one side looking at where the whirlpool is sucking everything down. And so now they're turned to you. So they are, if you're in the center of the dome, they're to your left. The coral is in front of you, and the 2 that Imran and Marcel were attacking are in front of you. Otherwise, there's nothing in this place. Marcel?
I'm going to aim How do the 2 that we've attacked look in terms of, like, damage taken?
I mean, they're still standing. They look. The one that took the lightning bolt that was invisible inside, like you didn't see a lightning bolt inside, is looking really bad.
Okay.
And in shock, like he's like, I have no idea what just happened to me.
I mean, that's fair.
I have no idea what happened either, buddy.
All right, so I will aim 2 Eldritch Blasts at the one that's not in shock and one to the one that's in shock. Okay, that wasn't as good as the first turn. Just double check. Where's my... Okay, 8, 10, 11, 11.
That hits.
Oh, good. Then all of them hit. So the one that's taking 2 Eldritch Blasts takes 9 damage. So the one that wasn't shocked.
Okay.
And the other one takes 1.
Okay.
And irritated at that one, I am going to Quicken Spell Eldritch Blast them again. Yeah, no, I'm irritated. I'm aiming 2 at the one that's shocked this time. And I guess all of them are going to hit. That's 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 2 for the shocked guy. That's going to be 9.
Okay.
And the other guy takes 8. That was better.
Okay.
The 8s tend to be swingy.
Yep. Okay.
And that's my turn.
All right. Khonnos.
Okay. I've just realized a potential flaw with this plan, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'll move to a position where I can see all 5 of them, and I'll cast Mass Suggestion.
Okay.
And I will I'll say I'm going to hold up Bolum above my head as I cast a spell and say, "We are here to fix the damage that's been done. I suggest you help us with this as we request." And they need to make wisdom saving throws unless they can't understand me.
Yeah, so you have to give them actually a more specific suggestion than that.
Okay.
Because right now you're not doing any activity to fix the thing, so telling them help us fix it isn't actually a direct enough action for them to be able to
tell them just don't interfere with what we're doing.
You can say stay as far away from us as possible.
Stand as far away from us as possible and do not attack us.
Okay. And what's the save DC?
17 wisdom.
Okay. 12, 3, 19. One of them saved.
Okay.
And a 1. One of them saved. The other 4, as soon as it's their turn, will presumably start to follow your direction.
Okay. As a bonus action, I will speak the command word for Bolum to activate the tentacle rod.
Okay.
And then I will just move as close to the coral as I can and just put start looking for an area where there's a chunk missing.
Okay. Do you touch it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put a hand on it and just start feeling the side of it.
Roll me a strength save.
Sorry. I haven't pounding in my ear the last week. 21.
Sucks. Okay. As you touch the coral, you feel it trying to force your hand that's holding Bolum down into it. It's almost like a really strong magnet sucking your staff, your trident, into the coral. But you resisted it because you rolled a really good strength check. Axley, it is your turn.
Okay, so the 2 that are closest to the coral are pretty injured at this point, right?
That's correct.
And then
also they have been mass suggested, so they're probably not going to engage.
Yeah. Actually, that one looks like he didn't hit the message. Remind him, please.
And there's one. How many? There's 3 of them over there, or just one?
There's 3 over there, and only one of them failed. So everybody failed except the one.
Uh-huh.
So there's a group of 2 in front of you that look damaged, but they failed their saves. There's a group of 3 to your left. 2 of them did not make their save, so they're suggested, and the other one is not affected at all.
Okay. Can I just capture that one inside a spherical wall of force? So it's completely encased inside?
Is that a spell?
Yes.
Yes, you can cast a spell at it.
Okay.
How big is the wall of force?
If I make it a sphere, it can be up to 10 feet diameter.
But it can be very small, right? Like just big enough to house
Yes, this
him.
is up to
Okay,
10 feet.
yeah.
So I can make it
you can do that.
creature sized and capture it inside. Okay.
Does he have to make a save? I don't think so. Right?
Doesn't say. No, it doesn't say there's a save.
Okay. So that happens.
Okay.
And then it is their turn. So the 4 of them that are not trapped inside a circle of force walk over and they try to go to a part of the dome that is as far away from all of you as possible. And they also turn from their mostly humanoid form to the form with the flappy lips that looks more fish-like. And then it is Imran's turn. Oh, the one that's trapped also turned into the flappy lip thing, but it can't do anything. You see it opening its mouth to try to make a noise, but you don't hear it because it's trapped in a wall of force. And it's Imran's turn.
Cool, that works, I guess. I will help Khonnos try to find the little section of coral that is missing.
Khonnos, you know exactly where it is once you touched the coral.
Okay. He'll take the piece out of the trident and just try to carefully insert it.
As you take the piece out of the trident, I need you to roll a charisma saving throw.
Okay. 11.
You take 10 psychic damage.
I have resistance to that, I believe.
Okay. So you take 5 psychic damage. And you can place that coral into the empty spot where the coral is missing.
I'll do that. So the thing that gives me resistance to psychic damage says that when a creature deals psychic damage to me, it takes the same amount of damage that I do.
Okay. That doesn't make any difference in this situation.
Okay, good. Okay.
So, okay, here's what happens. Khonnos replaces the coral, and the coral starts to grow and grow and grow, and it starts to grow so much that it's pushing on the dome. And you figure you've probably got maybe a minute or 2 before it cracks that dome.
I think it's time to get out
Time
of
to go.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, but what do we want to do about this creature that's not friendly?
I think.
Now's the time to do something to it. If it's behind the wall of force.
Well, then now's the time to not do anything because it's behind the wall of force. Nothing we can do will reach it.
You don't think it's going to hurt the coral when we leave, or try
Can
to?
I can certainly try, but I don't think you can. I mean, that thing looks pretty big, and it's getting even bigger. It's probably going to get squished against the wall and then out into the electrified outside. So I think we're good. I think we
All
can
right.
let.
Once we get back to the curiosity, well, I guess it's concentration, right? So is it a concentration spell to dimension door?
It is, yeah.
No, it
So my wall of force will drop anyway when we leave.
Oh, no, I
No.
meant the wall of force is
Oh, yeah.
concentration.
Yeah, you'd have to drop concentration on it when we leave.
Okay.
I just grab your arm and go.
All right. I'll grab Emerin and dimension doors back to the curiosity.
Okay. When you get back into the curiosity, Blacksley is there, like passed out. He's like still got his hands on the controls and he's like passed out.
He got hit by the little shock. Probably.
As you watch from
I'm gonna drop the wall of force. Then once we're back in the curiosity.
Okay, so actually, as you dimension door out, as you watch, the coral grows big enough to crack and destroy that dome, and the dome kind of just goes and cracks all the way and just kind of disintegrates down, and water rushes back in. And Khonnos, how many hit points do you have?
Why do you ask that? 82.
And what's your maximum?
87.
Okay. You're now at your maximum.
Okay.
You see the coral start to glow in this sort of purplish, reddish, white, blue, yellow. It's kind of almost cycling through a whole bunch of different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still growing.
Someone want to get behind the wheel and get us farther away from the growing crystal thing? Coral?
Well, so the thing is, it's growing and it's getting really close to the rift. And as it starts to get close to the hole, the whirlpool starts to slow down and get disrupted, and so the current starts to get really weird inside this lake because it's starting to close that gap. And it's going to be really, so it's sort of like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave? Are you going to stay? Do you want to watch what happens?
I think we watch what happens, but we want to get this ship a bit away from the action. So back up, basically watching what's happening, keeping an eye on it.
Okay.
Well, we have to go up too, because then you're going to get less than the silt, so you have better view.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Leave the bottom of the ocean, basically, of the lake.
Okay. You basically see this coral grow until it gets big enough to sit on top of where the gap was. And then instead of growing larger, it starts to grow out spiny pieces along the bottom of the lake. And the spiny pieces start intertwining and almost like sewing up the rift. Almost like crochet or something. And it's relatively slow, but the whirlpool is disrupted enough that you can tell it'll eventually stop being a whirlpool and just turn into a regular lake. The issue now is You're still on the Blue Plateau, and this is the only water that's there.
Correct. We just we
Yeah.
plugged the hole. That's all we did. We didn't.
It's not going anywhere else, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got the rift fixed.
Part 1's down.
Part one is down. So my question to the rest of you is, do we want to take the Curiosity to the Infernal Plane, the fire, whatever, that plane?
Is that the red plateau? Is that what
The
you're
Red
talking?
Plateau? Or do we go back to the Common Plateau and go through the Infernal Gate that's in the library?
Yeah, we'll have difficulty traveling if we go that way, right? I mean, wherever we pop out, then we're traveling on foot through probably pretty hostile terrain.
I mean, we
Well,
don't know
okay.
where either of those. I mean, whether we use the Curiosity or the Gate, we don't know where we're going to come out either.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I
But at
think
least in the Curiosity, we have some protection, mobility.
Yeah.
The biggest question is, are we going to try to sneak through and push all of this liquid back, or are we going to try and
We
negotiate
can.
with them?
We're going to have to bargain with
I think we're going to have to
whoever's in
bargain.
charge there.
I mean, it says bargain the rights or steal the rights. Like, I don't even know how stealing the rights to move material through a plane works. I feel like that might piss off some kind of demon, and then we'd have bigger issues. I think asking for permission and bargaining is going to work better. I don't like the idea of bargaining with anything on that plane. But to help us, whatever we bargain with is probably upset about Shamasa taking this many souls for themselves. So ideally what we do is find a demon or whatever that is against Shamasa's little actions that have happened so far and wants to make a deal with us to avoid Shamasa from becoming more powerful.
Right.
But yeah, it might be worth it to take the Curiosity just in case. It does give us more security.
Does. I will say, though, I feel like intruding via the Curiosity might be seen as less polite than taking an already established gate. I don't really know if that's how that works, but to me, I feel like if there is already a gate established, then potentially we can take that. And I do have a way to like bamf us out of there if we need to get out really quickly. I can use the word of recall.
The other thing is, if we go back and go through that gate, we can stop and look at the book, which might give us more information. So, are we going back to the library then?
I think that's our best option, personally. What do you guys think? Is Blacksley okay?
Yeah, what happened to him?
He was just passed out.
Like asleep, passed out, or just like...
No, like he exerted so much trying to keep the Curiosity from like being blown out of position and damaged that he ended up passing out. Or so that's what he tells you.
I'll give him a quick cure wounds for his efforts. Just to make sure he's buffed up.
Okay, so are we heading back? Might be interesting to see what happens now that we've at least stopped the flow of water. Actually, I'd be curious to see what the Soul Spire room looks like now.
Give me a minute before we go. I have something I want to do. I'd like to cast Dream. And I would like to attempt to, since we're here on this plane, I'd like to attempt to communicate with the coral if it's possible to do so.
Dream. Okay.
Yeah, it only works if it's asleep. And if I still had sending, I'd use that, but
It only works if it's asleep.
yeah. If the target is awake, the messenger knows it and can either end the trance or wait for the target to fall asleep, at which point the messenger appears in the target. I just tell them we fixed it, but it still feels incomplete and lonely. Probably going to be a while before it, is back to feeling like it's like itself again.
Well, it was out of the water, and there isn't much water left in the bowl. It probably will require having the water brought back to the plane.
So as you start to try to contact the coral with your dream spell, it tells you that you do not have to use arcane magic to contact it.
Okay. I'll use my telepathy then to just say, we've done what we can for now. We're gonna try to return the water that was taken from this place and bring it back here. Hopefully, once that's done, you'll feel better and you'll continue growing. You look wonderful, by the way.
The spire doesn't flow anymore. That's what needs to come back.
What else can we do to restore that or make it flow again?
Unsure. But the spire used to pour into the threefold lake, as well as all of the plateaus. As a result, I don't have access to my souls.
Do you have a name?
It is unintelligible in your language.
We'll do. I'm going to do everything I can to help restore things.
It says, you found the piece that was lost, but you haven't found the piece that was stolen.
Who stole it?
A long-time enemy. A demon with a lot of power now.
Is it Shamasa Hasit?
Do not speak that name.
I'm sorry.
That is a curse upon the universe. There are two kinds of powers. Those that, if you know their name, it's powerful against them, and those that, if you use their name, it adds to their power.
And this one's the second kind.
Yes. Ambitious and virulent. It is upsetting the natural order. Thank you for your service.
Just crying at this point. Thank you for everything you've done for me.
In the end, you will come back to me.
Look forward to that day. And Khonnos is pressing his hand against one of the open windows, and coral is just starting to grow on the outside. But I'm casting Coral Grasp for just pure flavor at this point.
You all notice that Khonnos, his skin was blue, but now it's more like this shimmering, purpley, bluish, yellowish. Like if you happen to get an image and a view where you can see the coral and Khonnos at the same time, Khonnos, his skin looks exactly like whatever cycle of the colors the coral is in at that point in time. And I think that's where we're going to end this session.
Oh boy.
All right. Thanks.
So if that mass suggestion had not worked, or if you hadn't found a way to get into the thing and basically do damage and everything, these things were just going to attack the coral. That was the plan. You were not the threat to them. The coral was the threat. So their instructions were, if anybody gets here, you destroy the rest of the coral.
Oh dear.
That's kind of what I figured, which is why I was going for like damage the ones closest to the coral and keep us between them and the coral.
Well, and you know what happened last time somebody damaged some coral with Khonnos.
Yep, heard me. Yep.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So while these deep scions seem like they're not all that dangerous to 12th level, that could have gone real bad.
Yeah, if they all start hitting the coral, yeah, that would have been over for me really quick.
Yeah. So, do you want to do a 20-minute debrief?
Sure.
Does anybody have a topic that they are itching to talk about? Here's one. How do you make it so you have characters with different goals, but the goals get accomplished at different times during the story? How do you keep that player and their character involved enough that once they've attained their goals, they're still invested? Because this sort of has happened a little bit with Imran, right? The main goal that she had was find her mom. So you did that. And it's now happened a little bit with Khonnos, because one of the goals was figure out who my patron is and help it, because obviously something is wrong, right? And get more understanding and complete the coral, so to speak. And now that's done.
Mostly.
Mostly.
There's another missing piece we found
There
out.
is. Right.
Yep. Well, that's that's one way to answer that question, is essentially say, yes, you've given them, yes, you've completed your goal, but there's another part to your goal that is connected that you weren't aware of at the time, and then don't get that knowledge until later on.
I think one thing is, yeah, like giving another goal that the character that is close enough to what the character would care about to keep them going, related to the main quest. I think partially there's a bit of hope in the DM side that the character will also feel, like in Emran's case, the compulsion to help the others finish their quests before just going off on their own. Like, you've helped me this far, I'm gonna keep helping you now to finish your quest. And I guess that's a bit of social contract outside the game as well. It's like, yeah, oh, well, I'm finished. My family's nice. We are here, have a good life. My mom now is head of the church, which could have been me, but I rejected. Good luck with the coral. Bye. And there's some cases where it just comes down to, hey, this character doesn't want to keep going, so I'll roll up a new one. Mm-hmm. That has happened to me in another long campaign where it didn't make sense for a character to keep going, and the player just said, yeah, he's not going to keep going, I'll make someone else, and that person will have other motivations for wanting to join and continue the story.
Right. Yeah. There's a little bit of the social contract in every game from the beginning, right? Because if you're in a group and the DM says, okay, well, here's what we're doing, we're going to go to this dungeon, or here's what I'm planning, we're going to go to this dungeon. If you're if the characters are sitting in the tavern and the sort of quote quest giver is saying, hey, here's the quest that here's this rumor that I heard, or here's this thing that I know about, or hey, can you go to that dungeon and get me this thing? If 2 of the players out of 5 go, yeah, nah, let's look for some other clues to do something else. Like, that's sort of like, look, this is the quest that you're right. Like, this is what it is. You're going to do it or you're not going to play D&D tonight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, those characters go off and do that. Meanwhile, I need you to roll up a character who would want to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the short and blunt way of kind of addressing it as a DM.
I think that's even more a problem, or a stronger need for that social contract when it comes to modules. It's like, yeah, let's play Tyranny of Dragons. Yeah, my character doesn't care about Tiamat being summoned. Okay, make another one then.
Yeah, make one that does.
Right.
Or find a group that is playing a different game then, basically.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm looking forward to seeing in the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything when it comes out is the group patron section.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can use that to layer, everybody's got all the characters have their own individual goal, but then you can use essentially, okay, you're part of a group or a faction, or you have a sponsor or a patron. So okay, great, I'll help you accomplish your own individual goals. In return, I want you to help me with these quests or these things, and there's all sorts of things you can kind of do with that, just to put that extra layer over top of what the individual players are trying to accomplish, and kind of keep that buy-in.
Yeah, that section is pretty interesting, that section of the book. I kind of feel like they had some missed opportunities with it, because so there's two things that I feel like are missing from that section. Number one, how to make these yourself. Like they could give some guidance on how to apply this, in a game, like how to create your own faction that has these with it. They kind of do that because they give examples, and they're pretty generic examples that could be used in any fantasy world, but they kind of don't. Like, I wish it had a little bit more guidance. That's one thing. The second thing is they really didn't use any faction at all. They used more generalized things. And to me, it feels like they've been trying to get people to work within the factions of a game setting, specifically for the Forgotten Realms. They've always got Harpers and Zents and Lord's Alliance and all that in their games for their setting, but they don't have any of those as group patrons. So I feel like they could have had like a missed opportunity there. They could have made it more specific. Now, for example, they do mention the Zents in the criminal, because there's a criminal organization that could be your group patron. And so they mention like, well, your party could be, but it's just the way it's presented is slightly more generic than I feel like I wanted to read, I guess. It's mostly a preference.
I guess the problem there is that, and now we're discussing Tasha's, but I think the problem there is they tried to make Tasha a catch-all, here's for your homebrew, whatever, and less, because like a lot of the content that was republished in this book was for specific settings, be that Eberron, be that Sword Coast. Because you have the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, and you have the whole like Blade Singer that was initially like very specific to that setting. You have the patrons that already show up in the Eberron book. And here they're trying to take all that information and publish it and being like, here's the generic version, so that if you're playing homebrew or not playing one of these settings, you can still use these things that we've already published in other books. Because it's the same thing with the Artificer. So if you're not playing Eberron, now you don't have to buy the Eberron guide. If you want to play Artificer, you can just get Tasha's, and it has all the information you need.
And that's part of where my first complaint stemmed from, right? Like, see, the thing is, my two complaints are actually opposed to each other, right? Because I want them to give you something general enough that they could produce a set of guidelines to say, here's how to make this yourself. But then I want them to be specific about their setting, right? So I understand that totally. I understand there's a dissonance there, and that's just me. Sorry, I have dissonance, but I
think the first part is where they went wrong. They should have added, like you said, a section of here's how to make your own faction, and not just give examples. Like the examples are great because then you have a framework to start with, but also how do I. Kind of like what they did with like artifacts in the DMG, right? Where they show you how to make an artifact. They've got a bunch of tables for quirks and special effects and anything. And then they've got a whole bunch of like example artifacts after that.
Right.
They could have done that.
Yeah. They could have. They could have done something like that. In fact, one of my major complaints, and I think I said this on we did a sort of flip through review for the Tome Show for that book. But one of my complaints in general about Wizard of the Coast products is they don't give enough guidance to DMs. they kind of write some of these things, and I get the feeling sometimes it's like they just, the DM will figure it out. Just,
There's a lot of mentality with D&D of like just homebrew it, or just let other people do their job for them and publish a bunch of content on the DMG
or their own books or
to
whatever.
Supplement. Yeah.
Or it's like, we figure most people who are using this have been running games for 10, 20 years and already have the sort of experience that we don't need to put that in a book. Whereas that might not the case.
Right. The problem with that is, though, that 5th edition is so popular, they've brought in, millions of new players. So some of those people are going to be DMs, Nina. And so, that some of those people are new DMs and they need the guidance. I mean, heck, I need the guidance sometimes, and I've been, DMing for, 40 years or whatever, 35 years. So, I just wish to me that's a missing component. We're totally off on a tangent now, but that's a missing component for me in a lot of the published work that they do. And because they're the 800-pound gorilla, it kind of makes it so that what they publish becomes kind of the gold standard, whether it's good or bad. It becomes the gold standard for what you get compared to. And I feel like there's a lot of room there for giving people more guidance. What they really need also is a book for players on guidance. Here are the different styles of play. Here's how to make a character that's still functional and effective, but you're not min-maxing this person and only worried about combat. Or, hey, if you want to make this kind of character, here are your options, and here's how that will be structured mechanically. Here's how to do this. Here's how to make that PC stand out narratively, right? Here's a good way to think about this character, and here's how to play that character. Some ideas, at least. I think those things are sorely lacking. And yeah, I agree. They expect other people to write those types of guides and put them on the DM's Guild.
I mean, one other thing that I was thinking of that is not available in any of the D&D official books, as far as I know, is, for example, mass combat. I know that I believe Matt Colville wrote a book about how to do mass combat, but we somehow managed to skip it. But even in Tyranny of Dragons, you come up to a castle where there's 90 enemies, and there is going to be I've heard of, because I'm in the Discord with a bunch of DMs of other DMs having to deal with this mass combat where there's 90 things that the DM has to work through, and then there's 5 characters, and each turn takes forever, and it's mostly the DM rolling dice against the DM.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's 2 factions there that are warring together. I managed to avoid that because you guys let them do their thing elsewhere, and that was off screen, so I didn't even bother rolling for it. But it's in one of their published modules, and there's no real substance in what they say in that part of the book as to how to handle it. Besides, there's 45 of these, and there's 30 of these, and then there's 10 of and what am I going to do? Roll initiative for all of them?
Yeah, Matt Colville wrote Strongholds and Followers.
Yep.
And then he kickstarted Kingdoms and Warfare, which has the mass combat rules.
Mm-hmm.
Strongholds and Followers also has a little bit of mass combat kind of stuff, but the Kingdoms and Warfare is supposed to have, it hasn't been released yet, but it's going to have more, apparently. More actually for that type of thing. So yeah, I think it's a whole. I think that they haven't covered that very well at all.
And I mean, at the same time, it's do we really expect them to fill in all the holes? Can they physically
no,
think of everything that needs to be covered?
No, but when they put it in a module, they need to address it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my thing, right? There are some great modules that they've put out, but they could cut the page count of the adventure by 50 pages and sprinkle guidance in throughout the book and have the same size book, but a tiny bit smaller adventure, and it would make a better product to me, because it would have the tips and tricks and advice and guidance that somebody needed if the players chose to approach whatever situation that way versus another way, and that's something that they don't. I mean, look, Rime of the Frost Maiden, I love it. It's a great adventure. I like it a lot. I have enough experience that I can run it with no problem, but it's got some holes in it and it's got some issues in it that I think I know what the intent of the authors of those particular sections were, but because it's not in there, I have to think I know the intent and try to change the thing to work within the confines of the story to make it make sense. And there's no guidance in there. And I could say the same thing about Tomb of Annihilation. I could say the same thing about Out of the Abyss. Any of the modules that I've run from them, they're hardcover, big, giant adventure modules. I could say the same thing about. Like, man, Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a great module, but it needs some guidance in there for newer DMs. So, anyway, I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about that.
That tends to happen every time we debrief, so I think that's just par for the course. We start with one topic and then like segue into 3 different ones.
Right. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Whatever. Yeah, let's do our official goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.